Let me
This
know you're
conference
ready.
will now be recorded.
Good evening. I am Steve Knight, Chair of the Rhome Planning and Zoning Commission. It is 6:01 p.m. on Monday, February 1st, 2021. I will call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Rhome Planning and Zoning Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted via video and telephone conference per the governor's office. And I will now call roll to establish our quorum. If you'll just answer me if you're here or not. Commissioner Steve Knight here. Commissioner Thomas Cannon.
Thomas Cannon here.
Commissioner Christy Narron.
Christy Narron here.
Thank you. Commissioner Christy King. Commissioner Christy King, are you here?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Sarah Hawes.
Sarah Haas is here.
Thank you all and welcome. I would also like to congratulate Michelle Ty, our alternate number 1, on her move to the Rhome City Council. We are now looking to fill vacancy for both our alternate positions, and an application for such is on the city website for anyone listening. Okay, public presentations and input. The commission is not permitted to take action or discuss any presentations made to the commission at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The commission will hear comments on specific agenda items during this designated time. Request form must be filled out and submitted via email to citysecretary@cityofrome.com prior to 4 p.m. of the meeting date to be recognized, and we will limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Shannon, do we have any speakers this evening?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, we'll keep moving on here then. Thank you. Regular agenda, old business. Item A, discussion and any necessary action regarding the minutes of December 7th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission regular session. Has everybody had a chance to look those over and we have any discussion on them? With no discussion, I'll take it that we don't need to make changes, so I'll make a motion we accept those minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Thomas. We'll take another roll call here. Commissioner Steve Knight, 4. Commissioner Thomas Cannon.
4.
Commissioner Christy Narron.
4.
Commissioner Christy King.
4.
Commissioner Sarah Hawes.
4.
Thank you. Motion passes. We'll move on to regular agenda new business, item B, and bear with me. Discussion and any necessary action considering a recommendation to City Council regarding a proposed final plat for Rolling V Ranch East, Phase 1, being described as 102.912 acres, lots 1 through 71, 1X, 2X, and 3X. Block 1, lots 1 through 40. Block 2, lots 1 through 23 and 1X. Block 3, lots 1 through 13, 1X, 2X, and 3X. Block 4, lots 1 through 21 and 1X. Block 5, lots 1 through 41 and 1X. Block 6, lots 1 through 21. Block 7, lots 1 through 21. 55 through 78, 1X, 2X, and 3X. Block 8, lots 1 through 33. Block 9, lots 1 through 18. Block 10, and lots 1 through 10, block 12. 336 residential lots and 12 open spaces situated in the Smith County School Land Survey Abstract number 743 and the James B. Farnsworth Survey Abstract 991, City of Rome, Wise County, Texas, as requested by PMB RVR Development Company 1 LLC. This is a final plat. We have already moved on from the preliminary plat. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just needed to make sure that we all knew that Christy King, Commissioner King, will be recusing herself from this agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Okay. At this point, I'll turn this over to our city administrator for comments and staff reports.
Thank you, Chair Knight. Commissioners and Chair Knight, you have the agenda commentary before you. Just as a reminder, of course, they have PMB Rolling B has submitted their preliminary plats and they've been approved from P&Z to council for the east side phases 1 through 3 and for the west side phases 1 and 2. So now they will be coming back for final plats on all of these different phases. So tonight what you have before you is actually the final plat for the east side, phase 1. And you've got your map there in front of you in the packet. You had that. They will be coming back as they are ready for the subsequent phases for the final plats. In fact, I just talked with them today, probably on your next agenda, if they meet their goal, and I think they're going to, is submitting on the west side, phase 1 final plat on the west side for our next agenda in March. And then the subsequent, final plats for the rest of the phases will follow after that. So tonight, what you have before you is, again, on the east side of, and I say east, where just for reference point, I know you all know this, but for people that may be watching, this is the east side of FM 3433. So you have that before you. We have met with them. Our staff engineers have met with them. And this, you see that final letter, there's been some conversations back and forth, of course, but you see that final letter in front of you that our engineer has reviewed it and found it to be in conformance with our code of ordinances and, of course, our development agreement. Just as a reminder, this is in our ETJ. So, there's much less authority of the city in our ETJ, but we do have a developer's agreement and they are in compliance with that developer's agreement on this final plat. So at this point, unless there's any questions, it does meet our ordinance and the development agreement. So we would, our staff and our engineers would support P&Z recommending approval to the council for the east phase 1, east side phase 1 of the Rolling V Ranch development.
Okay, with that, I'll open it up for discussion. Thomas?
Nothing.
Christy King? And Sarah Hawes?
Yourself.
Nothing.
Okay, I've got just one thing I'm going to throw out there just because it's something that I noticed. Between the preliminary plat and the final plat, I presume it's not uncommon for a developer to come up with and add lots to his plat.
Say that again.
A developer, between making his preliminary plat and his final plat, does he quite often come up with and add more lots to his plat?
When you say add more, which?
Well, I just noticed, I went back and looked at the preliminary plat and it was for 316 lots, and this one's stating 336. So it just looks like maybe when he got down to the details, he found room for some more lots in his final plat than what he had in the preliminary.
I'd have to
He's
go,
maybe not looking at something right.
yeah, I'd have to go back. Normally you would not see that. And so I'd have to go back and see what you're looking at. And let me see if I can't pull that up. I think, do we have Peter Pinkoffs on the line? I thought
This is Peter. This is Peter. I'm not sure if y'all can hear me. I just dialed in.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Did you hear that question?
Hey, Cynthia, this is Kevin Kessler with LJ Engineering. Also, hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we did hear the question, and I'll answer it. I think the question really was, is it a larger phase one or is it a larger overall plat? So what we initially preliminary platted included what we called two phases, a phase one and phase two. So the phase one did in fact get a little bit bigger, but it's not bigger than the overall combined phase one and two that's associated with the approved preliminary plat, if that makes sense.
That does kind of make sense to me because I'm not an expert at looking at those plats by no means. I just happened to notice between the two, I was having to see a deal showing how many lots was on each, and I saw the increase, and then looking at it, I saw where there might have been some more put in. So
yeah, so there's not more lots than was originally approved on the preliminary plat. However, the phase one did get a little bit bigger. Now, of course, that would mean that the phase two would obviously have to be smaller, or we would have to preliminary plat more area in order to kind of even it out, if you will.
okay, because I did notice there was some more around a pond or something was all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you answered that question. Any other questions from anybody? If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we recommend this to City Council for approval, and that it does meet all staff reports and comments. Do I have a second on that?
I second.
Second from Sarah Hawes, thank you. We'll run down the line here and make a vote. Commissioner Steve Knight, yay. Commissioner Thomas Cannon,
Yay.
Commissioner Christy King.
She excused herself from it.
I'm sorry,
Christy
Christy-
Niren is
Christy
for, yeah.
Nairn, excuse me. And Commissioner Sarah Hawes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I knew I was going to get my Christies mixed up eventually. Thank you very much. The motion passes. And we will move on to regular agenda, new business, item C. And is everybody still there? Oh, okay. Regular agenda, new business, item C, discussion and review of zoning ordinances and comprehensive development plan. At this time, I'd like to read what the power and duties of the commission is. This is found at 8.5 in our ordinances under powers and duties of the Rhome Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 5, Planning and Zoning Commission shall be an advisory body to the City Council and shall make recommendations regarding amendments to the comprehensive master plan, make changes in zoning, and determine permanent zoning to be given to newly annexed areas. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall also make recommendations regarding the approval of the plats of subdivisions as may be submitted to it by the City Council. It is recommended that the Planning and Zoning Commission make an annual study of the city's comprehensive master plan and be prepared to make recommendations to the City Council that it deems necessary to keep the city's master plan up to date with the city's needs. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall serve in an advisory capacity on any planning and related items in the city. And with this, I will turn this back over to Cynthia. She's got a PowerPoint to start the discussion on this. Cynthia?
Thank you, Chair Knight. So I've put together this PowerPoint. Really what this is, and I know we have members that have been here for different lengths of time. We have people that have been here for a couple of years, and we have people that have been here for a couple of months. So what I wanted to do is really kind of go over high level. Of course, just like the City Council on a yearly basis comes back to review the comprehensive development plan, so does P&Z. And so the chair had asked for this to be put on the agenda, and what I also wanted to do was go over just really high level, and all of this is going to be high level, so I would encourage each of the commissioners to go back and do your due diligence and review the zoning ordinance. You know, we've made some changes, especially over the last several months, trying to do this ongoing cleanup, if you will, of all the code of ordinances, but even on the zoning code of ordinances. So, you know, this is just meant to be kind of a refresher, a high level overview, and then reviewing that comprehensive development plan. I think I've I know since I've been here, I've talked with several of you that have been newer to try to give you an orientation to P&Z and kind of what your duties are. And I know we've discussed the comprehensive development plan because that's pretty central to a lot of what the city council does overall, and of course what you all do in your respective roles. So the chair has already read, what the powers and the duties of the planning and zoning commissioners are. So I won't rehash that. We're going to go over the zoning ordinances generally, just really high level, and then we'll come back and we'll go over the comprehensive development plan. So here, this is, and just so you know, I know if you've gone on and you've looked at our code of ordinances in the past, and then you go on now and look at it, if you attended any of the council meetings, you'll know that we actually are with a new codification service. So prior we were with Franklin, and now we're with Municode. And by doing so, we have reduced costs and we've streamlined the process. So instead of taking several months after an ordinance is passed for it to be updated online, once the ordinances are, council takes action to update them, change them, whatever they may do, we'll be able to make those changes much more quickly. We actually can do it ourselves. So it's laid out a little bit differently. So I would encourage you to go on and look at that. But anyway, so going to the zoning ordinance, this is chapter 2, section 10A. When you all are determining a zoning change, these are some of the things that you want to consider. And this is in our ordinance, but whether some of the things you'll consider, and some of you know this, I know it's repeat for you, but whether that use is actually permitted by the proposed change will be appropriate in that immediate area concerned, in their relationship to the general area and the city as a whole. You want to look at the proposed change and see if it's in accordance with existing and proposed plans for providing public schools, streets, water supply, sanitary sewer, and other utilities. You'll want to look at the amount of vacant land currently classified for similar development in the vicinity and elsewhere in the city, and any special circumstances that may make a substantial part of the vacant land unavailable for development, and that might become clear as we go forward with that comprehensive development plan. I'm going to show you some things there. You'll look at the recent rate at which the land's being developed in the same zoning classification. So you'll see another chart as we look at the comprehensive development plan, and what percentages of what different zoning districts are where, what the land use is. So you're primarily concerned with that land use. So you see, a couple of other things, how areas are designated for similar development, if they're unlikely to be affected, those sorts of things, any factors that will affect the health, safety, moral, and general welfare of the city. So those are the things that you're going to consider if you're looking at a request for a zoning change. Moving on, we're the review of the zoning ordinance. Let me get on here. Trying to. There we go. So this is our, this is online, and these are our zoning districts. And again, I'm not going to go over these in detail, but I just wanted a review. I will tell you, even though we've gone with Municode, when we did change over from Franklin, there were still several items that had been passed, that have been passed by the council, but have not yet been updated. And so some of those you might recognize because we talked about zoning districts and we talked about the use chart. So we'll get to that in a minute. So you can see where the zoning districts are laid out. It basically goes from largest to smallest on the residential, and then it comes down here. So, we've got single family residential low density. And let me move this over if I can. So that's 10 acres. And then we go down to 5 acres and 3 acres, 25,000. And when you look at that, that's going to be your Chisholm and Ellis neighborhoods. We've got 20,000 right here. And again, you see that SF20. So the 20, 25, that speaks to the square footage of the lots that are that it's divided up into. Single family 15, which is 15,000 square foot lots, and so on. So we've got 12, 10, 8.4, 7.2, 6, for example, Crown Point is 6, and then 5. We do have 2-family residential districts, duplexes. We've got multifamily. We've just got a couple of those inside the city limits right now. We've got, and then it comes down into the office and retail and commercial and heavy industrial. And then it comes down to some special districts here. And then you come to the use regulations, and this is the one where the chart is. So what we also then have is this chart that has all, you'll see this top, let me try to, can you all see what I'm showing on screen?
Yes.
Okay. So you see at the top, I mean, that is all our districts, right? I mean, these are our zoning districts across the top. And then these are the different types of uses in each area. So it's just kind of one way to look at it. It should also, in each individual district, when you go in there, it will lay these things out as well. But this kind of clarifies what kind of use can happen in what kind of district. And so that's what that is. Let me get back to that. So now we're moving into the, again, I just kind of wanted to go over the zoning ordinances, high level. Now we're going to move into the comprehensive development plan. I believe it is online. I believe I've provided folks since I've been here with a copy or told them where it was online. If you need a copy, please let me know. I can get this for you because this is pretty important for you all. And again, we're not going to go over the whole thing, but a comprehensive development plan is really lays out how the city, who they are, where they're going, what they're going to do, what their priorities are. It includes a lot of public engagement. So you have the citizens coming in and saying what they want and how they want to see the city develop. And so we went through this whole process back in 2019, and many of you were around here when we did that. So after you do the comprehensive development plan, which is pretty much the blueprint for the city of where you've been, where you're at, and how you're going to develop. Every year, you know, there's priorities laid out, there's an action plan, there's an implementation plan that goes along with that. And every year, you want to, at a high level, just kind of circle back around and see, okay, where have we been? Where are we? What priorities have we accomplished? Where are we going? Are we still on the same track? There's a lot of variables that can happen in a year, 2 years, or 3 years that might kind of, it's a broad plan. So you kind of want to make sure you're still on track. And so that's what we're doing tonight. We kind of want to review where we've been, where we're at, where we're going, and make sure we're kind of still on track. And so we can continue to implement that plan versus, you know, the danger, the challenge is just not making sure that that plan doesn't sit on a shelf and it just sits there and nothing's ever done. So I think, from my perspective, I'm relatively new in Rhome, but I think the council and P&Z has done a good job of trying to really come back to their plumb line. And I'll call that comprehensive development plan kind of that plumb line. And so what we're doing tonight is just kind of reviewing that. So really what it does, again, it just provides the purpose of promoting sound development of the city and promoting the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city. I just did want to point out, it does talk about land use. Of course, when it comes to P&Z, that's a lot of what you all are looking at. The Rome city limits are 5.6 square miles. Our extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ for short, which a lot of people say ETJ, I just wanted to write that out. We have a fairly large ETJ, and that's 19.9 square miles, and you'll see why as we go forward. And just so you know, state statute basically lays out how far beyond your city limits that ETJ extends. And for us, for the city of Rome, we're a general law type A city, it's a half a mile. So when you look at the land use goals, which is primarily what you all are looking at, this is just very high level. So we're focusing on redevelopment of its city core through the establishment of a downtown district. They've got housing goals in there. And of course, you guys are concerned with that in some sense, right? And so it's a variety of housing types, densities, designs, including affordable housing options to allow all people housing choice. Economic development goals are, and these are just some highlights, promote a variety of types of retail and commercial businesses along the major highway frontages in Rome, and then provide opportunities for preserving and protecting Rome's unique history and our civic pride by developing a mixed-use central community core. So you'll see a lot of language in here throughout all the different goals that kind of point to a key project that they've identified as well, and that's that downtown district. So we'll talk more about that. Transportation goals, obviously develop and improve sidewalks, walkability, especially within the downtown Rome, to provide walking and biking opportunities for residents and visitors, and then ensure that location of appropriate crosswalks and or stoplights along Main Street. So this is where the comprehensive development plan highlights some key projects, and you'll see there in the center is the development of that downtown area. Also, the parks and trails is mentioned here, and the neighborhood engagement program. So communication is important, has been identified as being important. We have made some progress on that in this past year, and we're continuing to improve that. Parks and Trail, the Parks and Rec Board, and the special Parks Master Plan Steering Committee that was appointed has done a lot of work over the last year identifying parks and trails and things of that nature. So, you know, you guys, the city and the various boards and commissions have really been on target, I think, in pursuing in their alignment with the comprehensive development plan. One of the things that's really core and central to a comprehensive development plan is doing a SWOT analysis, and I think most of us are familiar with what that is. So they're looking at their strengths and the weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Some of those are going to be more internal and some are going to be more external. And this really is the feedback. I think I wanted to show this slide. It's in the comprehensive development plan, but I wanted to show this slide because I think it's really instructive to look back at it. This came from public engagement. So I know when I came into the city, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, this gives me a sense for what people are feeling and what their concerns are and what they feel like their strengths and their weaknesses are. So I'm not going to go through each of those, but I would encourage you to go back in that comprehensive development plan and kind of review that. They did come up with a vision statement, and it's fairly comprehensive. And I will read it because I think that that's every piece of that is pretty important. So I think the vision right now is to be a safe, friendly community, proud of its attractive rural and small town character that endeavors to serve people of all ages, backgrounds, and economic means with responsive, transparent governance. The City of Rome will offer a wide array of quality commercial and retail services, as well as a variety of inviting parks, trails, and community gathering spaces, together making Rome a wonderful place to live, work, and play. So when we're looking at land use and we're looking at existing land use and zoning, I think this last paragraph here is really important to note the difference. So note that zoning and land use are not synonymous. So the current zoning for the City of Rome, which is here on the right, and I'm going to show a better picture later, refers to the legal zoning requirements that have been enacted by the City of Rome. Existing land use might look different. So it looks at the types of uses that currently are occurring on each parcel of land. So, and I'll talk more about that when but you need to understand the difference between that. Okay, so the current land use, if you look at this, and can you all see that? Do I need to make it bigger?
No, that's good for me.
I think it's, again, I'm just going to go over this, but basically this ranch land, if you know where, not to be confused with our neighborhood of Chisholm, right, that we have off of 3433. This is northwest of the city at the northwest corner of 287 and 114. It's pretty much, that is inside the city limits. The city annexed that. It was a voluntary, the landowner actually, it's a working ranch actually, and it's my understanding they came to the city wanting to be annexed in. So we annexed in, but they're not willing to really develop it at this point because it is a working ranch. But that represents about 65% of the acres in our community. So you can go down here and you can kind of see it breaks it up with single family, multifamily, mobile home. And that's primarily, if you look, that's 2.15%. That's out in Bywell primarily. The residential acre versus single family, you're going to see that difference between Chisholm and Ellis neighborhoods. And then of course commercial, education, industrial goes down, but you can see those percentages on how we actually, this is how it percentage wise breaks up to how we're currently using our land. So on the land use goals and strategies, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to highlight a few because this is kind of your purview as the planning and zoning. If you look at, the goal number 1, so that's goal LU, land use number 1, encourage an efficient and compatible overall land use pattern that balances the need for residential housing while ensuring locations for the provision of required retail, commercial, and municipal services. So, and then you can see the strategies underneath that it's listed out. So for example, one of the things that P&Z has been active in this last couple of years is revising the Rome zoning and subdivision ordinances to conform with the comprehensive development plan. And going forward, we'll continue along that. And then these other things, denser housing options located near the city center, and then downtown appropriate retail options located in historic Old Rome. So again, you kind of see that reference to the downtown district. So here we have the land use goal number 2, 3, and 4. Prioritize redevelopment of Rome City core through the establishment of a mixed-use retail, commercial, public, and residential district. So again, it kind of refers to that downtown district. 3, provide adequate space for housing, existing and limited new light industrial activities in areas appropriate, buffered from residential uses. And preserve quality open space, natural areas, and views. So you'll see some of that was addressed actually in a parks master plan. You can see I will say we do need to establish stormwater management plan as well. And you see the reference to a sports complex located near the school on a floodplain floodway. So those are some areas that were mentioned. So in the future land use, some of the challenges, if you look, we do have unusual city limits. And what I think they mean by that is we have 5 core neighborhoods. 2 of them are contiguous in our core city center, if you will. Ellis, they're kind of out along roadways, right? Ellis and Chisholm, they're out along roadways. And then you've got Bywell that is out along 114. And we have a couple of other areas of city that light industrial around 114. So it's kind of like spokes going out on some of our major roadways. So we have, what does that create? Well, we've got disjointed neighborhoods. So we've got 2 that are core to the city, and then we've got 3 that are kind of a little bit remote. So those are challenging. And they talked about this during our parks master planning development process. Annexation, I think most of you are aware, but cities used to be able to do annexations voluntarily or involuntarily. With the latest legislation by the legislature a few years back, any future annexations have to be voluntary. So somebody has to say, okay, I want to be annexed into the city. We do have some leverage for that, and that would be our city services that we offer. So now we're kind of going to the retail and downtown mixed use again. Whoops, somehow that moved. Sorry about that. This was the key project that was one of 3 that was identified. And by the way, if you do have a question, you need to interrupt me vocally because I cannot see you right now. I'm only seeing my screen. So I can see the full screen. So this just shows some conceptual ideas. One thing I do kind of want to look at, because the Planning and Zoning Commission has looked at some of this recently, and they've taken some action towards this. But when you look at a downtown district, you see that landscaping, you see the sidewalks here, you see the different facades, you can see this lighting. I don't know if you can see my cursor. I'm looking at the top picture here. That's a conceptual picture. You want it to be attractive and walkable, special lighting that you're probably not going to see throughout the rest of the city. And you can see here they've got an example of downtown Plano where the facades are out there, and you see the awnings and you see special lighting here. You see the landscaping and the sidewalks. And you can see actually downtown Plano, they do have some special, I believe it's like a brick looking surface there on the roadway. On the left of your screen, you'll see that map of the downtown mixed use and retail. So do you guys see the purple? That is Main Street. So on either side of Main Street, it is retail. Just so you know, on BC Rhome, and I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but on the north side of BC Rhome, it's actually commercial. On the south side of the properties adjacent to BC Rhome, just the properties adjacent to BC Rhome, is retail. And then you see the railroad track over here. There is a road right here in that hatched area. That's actually commercial. That's Old Mill, and that's actually commercial. So when you look at the comprehensive development plan in the zoning district, Old Town Rome, just some recent history that has occurred a couple of years ago. And Steve, you can probably talk to this, but they began, kind of looking at this. Of course, they took a break to allow the comprehensive development plan to be developed, to actually complete that before coming back, because they were already looking at trying to develop the downtown district, as I understand it. And then they kind of took a break, waiting for the development plan to be completed and kind of confirmed, even with the citizen input, what everybody was thinking. And so they wanted to kind of start at the base. And when I came in, I agreed and said, okay, well, let's try to look at how we're laid out and what we're going to do. So Old Town Rome is an overlay district. Remember, it's just a zoning. I'm going to try to get to that screen here. Okay, so here's the Old Town Rome. This is an overlay district. So again, we call it Old Town Rome because it is in Old Town Rome. It's an overlay district. So you have your base zoning. So when you have, and I do have it on here, and I know I'm kind of switching around a little bit, but let's see if I can get to the zoning map. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want, you guys are awful quiet. And since I can't see you, it's kind of okay. So here is, kind of so I'm going to back out a minute. So when I say that we have an unusual shape, what I want to point out here, this big orange spot up here, that's Chisholm Trail Ranch. So that is inside the city limits. And that's a working ranch. I don't think, until they really want to develop it, it's probably not going to be developed anytime soon, but it is inside the city limits. It's still considered ag. So that's why it's orange, and you'll see this key down here. So it's still agricultural. When you look at the big picture, here is the city center. We all know where that is, right? And Prairie Point is in there. But that is the city center, which is primarily right now Crown Point. I'll enlarge it a little bit. Whoops. Crown Point and, Old Town, what we typically think of as Old Town, right? And then when you go down here, you see Ellis. See how this red is? That is our city limits. The red lines are the city boundaries. And so it follows major roadways like 114 and right here, 114, 34, 33, and of course 287. And we have Ellis here. We've got Chisholm down here with the school. Of course, we've got Bywell out on 114, and then we've got some light industrial out here. The blue dotted line you see is our ETJ area. So you can see where we've kind of got the disjointed neighborhoods. And when they said, the goal is to try to fill in that annexation, you can see these lots in front of Ellis, for example. We've had some interest in those lately, but they're outside the city limits. You can see there's 2 islands within Rome, which are interesting, but I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right here along 287 on the northbound side, there's that oval eye-shaped area that's not actually within the city limits, and we've had some interest in that area. So they might want, city services, and so, we can only, recommend annexation, but it's got to be voluntary. We can't do it, force it. And then we've got this place out here, right? North on the northbound side of 287. on the west side of the railroad track. So you can kind of see what they were talking about in the challenges of the disjointed neighborhoods. I just wanted to kind of show that. Going back to our, let's see, ours, well, let me go back here. So our development standards, sorry, right here. Our development standards right now, what I want to point out, Old Town Rome, only if you look at the rules and regulations, the base district are still there. So it might be single family 10, it might be single family 7.2, it might be retail, it might be commercial, but the overlay district is just that. It overlays those base zoning districts. It is still a zoning district. So this is what applies in that overlay district. Right now, the map is fairly large, so P&Z had looked at trying to shrink that down and make it more manageable to be conducive to establishing more of a downtown district. But you can see, and so if you were to do that, the first step was to kind of shrink that map down, but the second step would then have been to look at not only residential. If you look at all these rules, there's 1, 2, and then you've got a couple here, right? But it would also, you would want to look at, okay, what retail do we have there? What commercial do we have there? And a lot of times in a historical neighborhood, you have special considerations. So those are the types of things you would want to look at as you're looking at development standards. So over here, I'm going to go down to that development standards. So we're talking about things like, we can't talk about this too much anymore because of recent legislation, but exterior construction requirements. You certainly can have recommendations for people developing. We just can't require some of this. It is kind of in limbo because I think we're going to see some more legislation in this next legislative session regarding that. You have off-street parking and loading requirements, landscape requirements, sign regulations, accessory building and use regulations, fencing walls and screen requirements, site plan review, supplemental. So again, performance standards, lighting and glare. These are development standards. And you would probably want to include some of these things within that Old Town Rome overlay district. Normally that when cities are doing a downtown district, it's going to be holistic because the downtown district is mixed use. It's not just residential, it's retail, it's commercial, it's a mixed use. And so you want to have things that look at all of those in a holistic fashion. So those are some of the things that P&Z has looked at and probably will continue depending on how we move forward after this review with P&Z and with City Council. So what are some other communities doing? So it's always good. I mean, every community is different and they all have unique characteristics for them. So there's no one cookie cutter answer for everyone, but sometimes we can learn and see what other people are doing, how they did it, and if it's something that we want to emulate, different ideas. So I would encourage you, I've only brought up three examples here, but I would encourage you in your spare time to look around. I mean, I didn't include Keller on here. I didn't include Louisville. There's a lot of areas around us that have downtown districts and that have taken time to develop those downtown districts for the community, for economic development. So we can see for Roanoke, they have different phases. They've got downtown redevelopment. Started back in, phase 1 was in 2004. Phase 2 here is including extensive survey to allow for development of an overlay district, specific ordinances for that district, the 2007 renovation, completion of the Rock Building, originally built, so they were preserving history. And then you see where they're going. You see that they have specific ordinances for those. They mentioned an overlay district. They've got Oak Street zoning ordinance, Oak Street regulation plan. So go out and look at those. I think those will be helpful for you as we move forward. Decatur, they did, instead of a downtown district, they did a main street. So that's another, our plan represents a downtown district, but maybe it's a main street. So that's where we come back and say, hey, where do we need to go from here? Maybe it's just a main street. Maybe we don't want to do the whole downtown area. The other community, I'm going to go online. I was going to show a video. Let me try to get there. I can find it. Just a second. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to close that one out. There it is. So are you guys still with me?
Yes, we are. I am.
Okay, good. Okay,
Still
so
here.
it's a short video, and really what you see here, it says, it highlights the screen for the downtown, right? So 21 million in current downtown investments. They talk about 12,000 square feet, mixed use available. But this is kind of a video, and there's companies out here that do this. So it's something that in the future, maybe not now, but we could look at just to let people know, economic development, let people know where we are. But let's just watch this. And I'm gonna make the screen big. Okay. So again, you see, I mean, hopefully you saw there is very holistic. All of this, we're not, obviously every city is different in where they're at in their growth. And even when we grow up, we may not be a Decatur, we may not be a Keller or a Roanoke or a Salina or whatever else. We will be our own unique community. But you can see some of the components that they kind of highlighted on there was the downtown downtown district. They showed that. They, just the development of the city facilities, where they're located. I mean, Rome is located in a good place. I mean, we're at the crossroads of the Metroplex on 114 and 287. So those are positive things. We're kind of in that path, and we are grappling with the opportunities that growth and development bring, and you guys have a role in that. So it really is an exciting time, and I'm glad that we are reviewing where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. And so this is just hopefully to whet your appetite. I know you all are busy, but hopefully you'll take some time and go back and look at that comprehensive development plan in depth. Look at the zoning if you're not familiar with it, our zoning ordinance, and just kind of get more familiar with that. At this point, Chair, I'd like to turn it back over to you just to lead the discussion on next steps and ideas. I know we've kind of discussed having, from the council perspective, we're looking at a visioning workshop and budget planning workshop sometime in March. I was saying late February or early March. I'm kind of saying March at this point. We have talked about, you and I have talked about, well, what about a joint workshop with you and council, so you guys can, between council and P&Z, and kind of touch base and see where we're going from here as we kind of do. This has been a year and a half since we've done that comprehensive development plan, and really try to reevaluate what those expectations are of the council and P&Z. I think they do want to hear from P&Z and kind of get a consensus from P&Z what they've appointed each of you. So what do you all see? Your citizens, what do you all want to do? So, Chair, I'm going to turn it back over to you to kind of lead that discussion.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was great. I enjoyed that video. It'd be nice if we had one of those out online. I think that's quite an attractive thing if a business is out looking for a small town to do something in.
Yeah, really, they are nice to have.
But with our vision and our powers and duties being one to review this and to work on making some of those key projects happen, we're kind of the starting point for that. And of course, most people know that we did address that for 2 or 3 years, and finally last fall, we had brought it to council, and it got shot down through miscommunication. And that being our downtown district / Old Town Rome overlay, whatever it was, even trying to shrink it. And where that sits with council is they need to give us some clarification from their September 24th last year meeting, because they tabled that item. And then when we talked about downsizing that old downtown Rome overlay, they chose not to take any action on it. So we really need to maybe do this workshop so we can get the council in front of us, especially with some of the new city council, and see what their wants and needs are and where we can fit in and do that for them as to where we do our next step. Because otherwise we're just stalled on this downtown overlay district. And I think it's a very important thing to get started on. It looks like a great place for a small city like us to start. So I hope everybody's open to an extra day. I don't know if it's going to be a Saturday or an evening. It's kind of up to council to set that and then us to fit in with it. But I'll just be quiet here now and let you guys give your thoughts on where we need to go with this.
I agree with you, Chair Knight. I believe we need to have a meeting. We need to have some kind of workshop to get this started and get it going.
Thank you, Christy. We've still got you with us.
I also agree. I think it would be good for us to kind of be on the same page in the same room, talking the same kind of language. I think it would be helpful for our work.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be in the same room or not, but we'd at least be on the same computer screen. We'll see how that goes.
Yes, of course.
Sarah, any input?
I'm in agreement as well. So I would love to brainstorm. I think we have a lot of opportunity, as Cynthia pointed out. This is a great time for us to get in and, brainstorm, help share a vision, and let's get some action going now before some good opportunities pass us by.
Thank you. Well, I think it's great that we've got 3 new members and great members, it appears to me, to re-tackle these problems since Mr. Cannon and myself have lived through the old ones. We're wanting to put that behind us, get with council, the current council, and get the city moving forward. So Cynthia, if you could just pass that along to council and see if we can't fit into one of their workshops, we'd like to sit down with them and talk about ours.
Okay, I will definitely get with them and let them know that, and we'll see where they would like to fit that in. I think, so what I'm hearing from you is you guys think it would be better maybe before they have the visioning, the council visioning budget workshop that's going to be in March?
I think that'd be ideal.
Okay.
I agree as well.
Yeah, the sooner the better because government works so slow anyway.
All righty. Definitely we'll do that, and we'll just take it forward from there then.
Tom, I didn't let you have a speaking on that, but since you sat through it, but do you have any input for this?
I agree. We absolutely need to sit with the council, decide where we want to go, how we want to get there, make sure we're all on the same page of what we're looking at.
Okay, well, everybody's in agreement that we can all try and attend a special meeting. Cynthia, if you'll move that forward for us.
All righty, I will do that, Chair.
With that, I'll entertain any future agenda items. Anyone? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion from Tom and a second from Christy Narron. We'll go down the line one more time here. Commissioner Steve Knight, yes. Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christy Narron,
Yes.
Commissioner Christy King,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarah Haas.
Yes.
It is 7:03 p.m. I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all very much. Good meeting.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very nice week.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.